This is the Hunt, Fish, Conserve podcast, hosted by Ethan Evans
and Tyler Swenson.
Today we are interviewing Sydney Dahl, also known as Ethan's girlfriend. She is a wedding and elopement photographer with a passion for the outdoors and conservation, traveling, and cooking. Sydney is here to also discuss being a woman in the outdoors, traveling to national parks for cheap, dealing with a significant other who likes to hunt and fish, leave no trace principles, and wild game cooking.
Yeah, so our first guest on the podcast. Thanks for taking the time to join us, Sydney. Can we just start off telling us a little bit about where you started?
Yeah. So first, I'm going to put out a little... I'm super disappointed in the first episode because my name wasn't mentioned.
Yeah, she was really upset about this.
Yeah, I definitely heard about it.
I would like...
She was our first negative review.
I would like to take some credit for getting Ethan involved in the outdoors. Like, he would not have traveled to half the places that he has if it weren't for me.
Yeah, but on the flip side, I don't know if Sydney would have traveled to half those places if it wasn't for me.
I planned all of those fly fishing trips, so you can't tell me otherwise.
They were not good spots.
Okay, well, anyway, I think that I contributed a lot to your outdoor adventure so far.
I guess I was just nervous, and this is one of my first podcasts, so that's where I'll kind of lead to about why I didn't say it.
Okay.
So sure. I was actually waiting for you to come on to just clear everything up.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, so I'm Sid. I'm currently a senior in college studying public health and nonprofit management. And I'm also a full-time wedding and elopement photographer specializing in capturing love stories in nature. I'm also going to say a lot this whole podcast. So just to tell you.
We're going to leave that up to an audio producer
Yep.
to see if we can take care of that.
So, I grew up hunting and fishing with my dad and grandpa. And I used to camp with my family and friends. And over the past few years, I found a passion for backpacking, fly fishing, hiking, and traveling to national parks. So going back to the beginning, as a child, I did a lot of turkey hunting with my dad and my grandpa. We also duck hunted. I sat in a deer stand for hours on end, especially during youth season in northern Minnesota. It was horrible.
How many deer you shoot?
I actually have never shot a deer.
How many squirrels you shoot?
A lot. Little red squirrels up in Baudette, Minnesota.
You got a couple of grouse to your name up there, though.
Yep. So grouse, duck, turkey.
Boom fucking?
Yep, boom fucking. That's what my dad says. But I also did a lot of fishing as a kid. We only basically fished for northerns in my family, northern pike. But once I met you, I started fishing for trout on a fly rod. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where it started.
I know this kind of put you on a spot, but do you have a good story to tell about any of those adventures? Like things that stick out to you?
Well, the first time I went duck hunting with my dad, I was 11 or 12 years old. I was just big enough to hold a gun. And we got up super early. And we were sitting in the blind. Some ducks came flying in. I couldn't shoot them out of the sky because I was a child.
Water smacking.
Yeah. So they landed and I shot. And I fell right on my butt.
Like
the kick of the gun knocked me right on my butt.
Were you in the water?
No.
Oh. Out of the boat.
Okay.
No, we were on a beach actually.
Oh.
It was like a
close to where you live?
Yeah, it was on State Line Lake in Emmons, Minnesota.
You spot burning.
Now we're going to go spot burner.
Well, that lake is trash now.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so I shot my first 2 ducks with my dad at 11 or 12 years old. Fell on my butt as I shot the gun, stood back up, and I go, "Did I get them?" And I did, and I named them both.
It was after you killed them?
After I killed them.
By the head?
Yep, after I killed them, I had 2 ducks in my hands, and it was Henry and something else. I know one was Henry, though.
So I got a couple questions about that. Does that kind of lead to the wedding and elopement photographer? Because I feel like that's a pretty unique niche.
For sure.
Part of the industry there. And being in the outdoors, that definitely segues into that, or what, from a young age?
I don't think I knew that I wanted to be a wedding and elopement photographer until I started to care more about the outdoors and be more active in the outdoors. I started out as a wedding photographer, shooting at all the venues and...
Pretty traditional.
Yeah, the huge 200 plus person weddings. And I still do a few of those here and there. But I think once I started having these epic experiences in the outdoors, I really wanted to channel my creativity and turn my business that way.
So all that hunting and fishing you talked about growing up, do you think that was a big influence on why you love to travel and backpack and hike? Because a lot of people like to travel, but the backpacking and hiking is a totally different element of it.
100%. As a kid, I mean, growing up in the 2000s, early 2000s, we were forced to be outside. It wasn't, we were sitting on our phones. And I was always a tomboy. I'm not kidding. I probably didn't wear a shirt until I was 6 years old. Like, I would get home from kindergarten.
Still doesn't.
I would get home. Shut up. I would get home from school and literally like rip my clothes off and run outside. Like, I just wanted to be outside. And I was a major tomboy. I was the one picking up worms, running around. I also didn't wear shoes until I was probably 12.
That's awesome because, from my perspective, seeing all the adventures you and Ethan have gone on already, it's kind of a unique relationship. You don't see that often. Going on all these trips together, hiking, sharing those same interests and even spiking some interests in fly fishing. I mean, do you think you'd ever be into fly fishing if it wasn't for Ethan?
No. So, growing up, I was a strict
That's 1 point for Ethan,
northern pike, like out of a boat, trolling motor gal. And that's all we did. Like, we wanted to rip lips. We wanted to try to catch the biggest fish.
But you guys were also you guys would eat pike too, which is
we
maybe
eat
not
pike.
common for everybody.
No. I literally had fish last night or 2 nights ago for dinner.
Pike?
We had pike. Like, that's what, I don't know. That's the only fish we really eat in my house. Not a lot of people know how to clean them, but.
How many fish have you cleaned in your life?
0.
How many turkeys have you cleaned?
0. That's another thing. Okay, yeah, I may be like this hunter fisher woman, but also I don't like to touch what I kill, except trout. I will touch trout if I have to.
Yeah, but you kind of became accustomed to that. You came a little bit better.
Yeah, I absolutely hate slimy fish, and I'll carry like a turkey over my shoulder, but I won't like.
She'll pose for the picture.
I'll pose for the picture. I won't gut anything. I won't touch anything bloody. That's my dad's
just
job.
The other day I asked you if you'd help me process a deer. You said yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's when it's already meat. Like I'll put it through the processor and crank it and make it meat.
You won't meet him out in the field and.
So you don't like seeing like the face and like the attachment or what, or just like it's just gross to you?
I think it's just gross. Oh. Animals are cute though. Okay, actually, funny story. Sidetrack. I go to school in Duluth and. Graduating in May, but Ethan and I always go up the shore to hike and fish and whatnot. And
Steelhead, if anyone doesn't know.
Yeah. And on our way up the shore, there was a deer in the middle of the road. It had just been hit by a car, and I start crying. And I'm like, Ethan, we have to help it. We have to help it. It was still alive. Like the 2 back legs were broken.
That was pretty sad.
Yeah, so I called the DNR and I said, hey, we're at this place. There's this deer in the middle of the road. Like, it's going to cause an accident. It's literally in the middle. No one's slowing down for it. It just got hit. And then you know what the DNR told me? They literally told me, oh, let nature take its course. And I am just sobbing in the passenger seat. I'm like, we have to help it. We have to. And it was just so sad. It was trying to like pull itself into the ditch. It was really sad. But
yeah, so that's a good topic to bring up though, and like the discussion between like that because the deer was suffering. So we were sympathizing with it.
Well,
more like if you were to shoot it, and it would be like 3 seconds of pain and then done. I don't think you would have felt bad about that.
No, I just don't like to see things suffer.
And then it's like you kind of start to like put this thought process in your head where you're like, oh, that meat's gonna go to waste, or I mean, I know other animals are gonna use it, but
and then the worst part was we were driving back on the way and it was getting eaten by a bird.
Yeah,
that is pretty sad. I've seen that same exact thing on my way to college. It was a deer. It was sitting in the middle of 2-lane traffic, and he was just sitting there because he must have got hit, couldn't move. It was pretty sad.
How about talking about wild game cooking? What was like one meal that you like really loved for wild game when you were growing up?
So we are big turkey hunters in my family, and we always ate hot turkey sandwiches, and that was it's probably still my favorite meal, one of my favorite meals that my mom makes.
But that kind of stemmed from like you like dad bringing home a tough turkey one day, right?
No, it's always been a thing, but we just make it. Okay, so basically what it is, it's like pulled pork, but it's pulled turkey, and it's super cheesy, like cream cheese.
Really?
It's so good.
That sounds
and
really good.
Okay, when you have a super old turkey and it's really tough, that's the best way to eat it because it's just like pulled turkey.
Yeah, because I have heard some bad things about old wild turkey. You know, they're tough and they don't taste as
chewy.
good.
Just shoot the jakes, I guess.
Yeah. So
Problem solved.
yeah, we make a lot of hot turkey sandwiches in our house. It's literally just like Velveeta cheese, cream cheese, lots of cheese, and butter. And it goes in with this shredded turkey. And it's literally like a pulled pork, but turkey and
Can we
cheese.
get you for a video episode if we bag a turkey this year? Can we
Sure.
make that?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love
You just
to
make it in a big
experience
pot. Super easy. And then in terms of other things that I make, well, that's another thing. Ethan claimed that he was the cook in the first episode. I do pretty much all of the cooking of the game.
All the wild game he brings back.
Yeah. Not gonna lie.
Trout, goose,
Not
ducks.
fish. I've done some awesome like Parmesan crusted trout, but like I do like the goose.
Yeah, the reason I like cooking with Cindy is because a lot of other people in my family actually do not love wild game. So Cindy was like kind of a nice one to share a meal with. But she
No.
also is a really good cook, so.
Nobody in my family likes to eat anything that I bring home. Well, mom likes to eat the fish, but you know, the goose and the ducks. Actually, my girlfriend, she is willing to try a lot of the stuff I bring home, and that makes me really happy because I always bring stuff home, and Dad goes, he's like, "Oh, that's disgusting." I was like, "You want a bite?"
Yeah.
Can't even get him to try it.
Really though,
You were kind of shocked on the goose, though, because that was like the first Canada goose you had, right?
yeah. I can't even remember what we did to that. We just made it taste good.
We just made it taste good.
But in terms of like duck, my favorite way to cook it is I make it into these little duck bites. So you cube it up and you put them in a crock pot. Barbecue sauce, wrap them in bacon. Super
You're making
good.
me hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, super good. But that's about.
So you're going to be our head chef on the show.
Yeah, sure. If you ever get
Yeah,
into videos.
we need a head chef.
Yeah.
If you ever get into
we're gonna
videos.
do videos.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can even be the head chef and the video producer. No?
We'll see.
Can we sign her on for that?
We got a contract right here.
I'm better with photos,
Okay.
not video.
Yeah, she actually has managed to make me look good on quite a few pictures.
I'll tell you what. One of the best pictures I have of myself, Sydney took on the trout stream.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that one I sent you.
Oh, that was that one.
That is one
us
thing.
three went to what was it, Waterloo Creek, and
Yeah.
that was a good picture.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into more outdoor, like adventure stuff. I do a lot of photography on our own trips. Of course, Ethan can't get any good pictures of me, but
I was getting yelled at. She's like, why can't you do this?
but I mean, if you're a big brand, a big outdoor brand, like I don't know, Go Hunt. No,
Yeah, I agree.
if you're listening,
this a
I'm
plug?
your gal. I will be your content creator.
And they are awesome pictures.
Yeah,
I will say, all the pictures I've seen of you two on your trips, they're always great.
I'm definitely
Maybe
trying,
not the ones that Ethan takes, but the
Yeah.
very few, anyways.
I'm trying to do more landscape and just epic adventure stuff.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah,
We.
we are there.
Let's talk about women in the outdoors.
Okay.
What's your perspective on it? Because
So-
I guess let's just start from like this. Like when you were young, did any of your other friends hunt?
No, not really.
I mean, other than like going fishing with your dad or your grandpa, you really don't see any other aspects of it, of
No.
going fishing or hunting.
I mean, even now,
Yeah.
like I'm not even kidding. Out of all my friends, I'm the only one who like will fish, like especially by myself.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
or a lot of my friends haven't even heard of fly fishing, and
That's crazy too.
yeah, so I mean, it's a hobby for sure. It's not like I'm super great at it, but being a woman in the outdoors,
Well, before we get into that, like, how about did like any other of your friends like think it was weird that you were out like hunting and fishing or no?
No,
Yeah,
but
what do
I
you
do
think?
have a roommate who has a major fear of fish, so like she can't even imagine.
fish?
Yes,
How
it's
does
real.
that work?
It's real. She won't touch
That's a
them.
real thing?
Yeah, she won't go in a lake because she's afraid of fish.
Is there an actual medical
I don't
term for
know.
that?
Is
I
it a
wonder.
phobia?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean,
Wait, how about was it? It's your sister doesn't like something about fish either, right?
yeah, my sister also. Well, she'll go fishing for northerns if she knows that she's gonna catch a big one.
So northerns are an exception.
Yeah, that's literally my family. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, but like your roommate, it's like she doesn't even want to like go in the water if she knows the fish is in there.
No, that's what I mean.
It's like a weird phobia. Like
Yeah.
no lakes, weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of my friends, they're into the outdoors. Pretty much all my friends like to hike, and some like to camp, but besides that, not many people are, I would say, like hunters or fisher women.
So do you think that's more like the stigma around it, or like there's just like hasn't been introduced the right way, or is it like you don't want to be a girl who likes to fish or hunt?
I think their families just don't do it,
Okay.
so they haven't had that introduction. But
And you know, that's why I originally said it's unique, because not often do you see girls like Sydney, especially around where we live, that pursue that kind of stuff. Even though you said you're not that great at it, but at least take interest in it.
Well,
I mean, being from Duluth is kind of like millennial hipster central. And, you know, if you aren't a fly fisherman or a, like, I don't even, skier or snowshoer, like, if you aren't participating in some sort of outdoor activity, you're almost considered weird. Yeah. And so it's funny. I actually, when I first started fly fishing, I actually shot an elopement of a woman who was super into steelhead fishing. And her and I are still kind of in communication, but she's the first woman that I ever like actually got to talk to in person that also fly fished.
Yeah, because fly fishing in general, even for me, all the friends that I have and all the people who I've met, not many people fly fish or know about fly fishing.
I mean, also I'm going to drop this too. I don't tie any of my own flies. I don't even tie my flies really on.
Ethan
does it. I have just like
we're kind of working on it.
Okay, I will do my knots if I have to, but I don't want to. So I'll hand it to him.
He ties on some of my flies sometimes.
What a saint. He puts up with a lot out of me, but
yeah, if you really want to test your patience as an outdoorsman, like bring your girlfriend and little brother along, and you'll really see how many knots.
There's half of the time there's no time for fishing yourself.
Okay, but I have actually gotten pretty good. You gotta admit,
Yeah,
my casts are fire.
Last time I was fishing with you, Sydney, you caught more fish than either Ethan and I combined.
Yeah, she's always got that luck.
Because she picks one hole, and sticks it out and catches. You know, me and you are jumping around and
trying all this fancy stuff, and she's like just gonna swing the same fly. Yeah. And I'll give her a lot of credit. She actually hooked more steelhead than I did this year, and even landed one.
I did.
But I actually before we go too deep down that rabbit hole, I really want to say like I applaud your dad for like just treating you just like a normal person, like a normal guy, and like taking you to the outdoors. Because I feel like some dads like wouldn't do that, like take their girl to the outdoors.
I don't know. I would like to say that I was probably considered the little boy.
Yeah.
I was
the boy your dad never had.
Yep. You know, my sister's a girly girl. She likes the fashion, the makeup, and I was always the one who wanted to go out hunting and fishing with him, which I think he really liked. As I got older, I didn't have as much time, like being at school and stuff, to go deer hunting or turkey hunting. I actually went because of quarantine in 2020. I actually had time to go turkey hunting with my dad, which was awesome.
I went one day. We saw a lot of turkeys.
Yeah. So we always see a bunch of turkeys.
Don't ever shoot many.
I shoot.
Yeah, you shoot.
I shoot.
Yeah.
You may not. But yeah, I don't really know if I have anything to say regarding that. I think that he was just an awesome dad, and he wanted to instill that love for the outdoors. I mean, he is super active. Like, he's on the lake restoration committee, and he teaches gun safety, and he does like highway cleanup. He's super active in the community and in the outdoors, and I think he wanted to instill that in me as well.
Yeah. So let's just talk about like what is your perspective on fly fishing, and then being also a woman in the sport for it.
okay, well, being a woman in the sport, this year, especially, I've realized that there's more people than I think, like more women than I think fly fishing. But just in the last like year or two is when I've started to get into fly fishing. And of course you have to start buying your gear and getting all geared up. And the one
Instead of me
thing,
buying it.
yeah, the one thing that I had an issue with was finding waders that fit because they were all either way too big, like they were men's, or like they just didn't fit right. So I feel like outdoor companies have a long ways to go when it comes to making waders and selling women's fly fishing products. I did find a pair that fit.
Was that Reddington?
Reddington
Is the only company who makes women products, I think, right?
I have no idea. I think Orvis does.
Orvis might. Yeah.
I didn't know that was an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I sent like 2 pairs back. They were just like, they didn't fit in the right places. And
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That was a weird thing to
can't
find.
relate. You guys can't relate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't.
But I found a pair and it all works out. And I do think that there are more companies that are starting to strive to be more inclusive for women.
Yeah, like the Orvis 50/50 on the water and stuff
Yep.
like that. There's a lot of good initiatives out there, but
Yeah, that's interesting because I've definitely not heard of that being a problem or even thought about that. You know,
Yeah.
I just go to Fleet Farm and buy cheap waders for now, but
yeah,
Well-
I mean, like we just have a bunch of luxuries being a guy, I guess.
yeah.
Also, it's just funny too because when Ethan and I are out on the water, like we travel to go fly fish all these places,
Yep.
and like immediately the men will like turn to him, and because I rarely see women out on the water, and
Yeah,
when I do,
rarely.
it's like, oh my god,
And
another.
even in these big spots like Jackson Hole we were at or Glacier, I mean, you don't see many women doing it.
No.
Even in the popular areas.
No, but what I was saying is that like all these men who get off the river, you know, they turn to Ethan and they say like, "Oh, how was the water? What was like, you know, what'd you catch? All this stuff." And I'm like, "Why aren't you talking to me?"
Yeah.
Like I guarantee I probably caught more than him. Not saying I'm a better because I'm not. I'm not better than him, but also for some reason that's just always how it works out. I may not catch the biggest fish, but I always catch the most fish.
You do.
You're actually really persistent too. I'll give you a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
You're never like one of those people like, oh my god, it's 10 minutes in and we haven't caught a fish. Like, let's get going.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just frustrating. Okay, actually I'm over it, but I mean,
Because I mean, this spring, I mean, we were probably on the water for at least like probably 10 hours a day when we were fishing for steelhead. I mean,
last year.
I know those are kind of grueling, but
I mean, it's fun when
toughed it
you know
out.
that you're gonna you're hopefully gonna catch one.
It looked cold. So I guess next topic, not to switch things up, but you guys travel a lot. You guys have traveled to many locations, and Ethan always tells me kind of how cheap those trips are, or at least how you guys make those trips cheap. So how do you do it? What's the key?
Yeah, so I am a major planner. Like I do not go a day of my life without planning something out. And that includes trips. I travel for business. I am a photographer, so I also do some traveling for that. But in my personal life, I always plan everything out. Like literally route, where we're going to stop, where we're going to eat, where we're going to stay, what hikes we're doing on each day, where we're going to fish, like to the T, hour by hour. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, but I like to have a plan. So I guess traveling for cheap, planning ahead is a huge thing for me because I start looking months in advance. Like, where's the cheapest place to stay? We do a lot of camping, so that's really not an issue. Like, you pay max $30 a night to stay at a national park in the campground. But we do a lot of camping and Airbnbs if we have to, and we'll just find the cheapest thing we can. Because we want to spend money on the things that matter. If we go on an excursion, like a fly fishing guide or something, we will. But really, we just want to go for the most amount of time while spending the least amount of money. So yeah, camping, planning ahead. We also cook all of our own meals. So we'll bring a cooler and just bring our little camp stove. Even if we're staying in an Airbnb, we will bring our own meals. And that helps a lot because we'll just bring like hamburgers or something and just have hamburgers 2 days and cold meat, sandwiches.
tell me about that story when we were in Yellowstone cooking hamburgers.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah. So we again, we cook everything.
Yep.
And so we were in Yellowstone. That was 2 years ago already. And we were like, okay, we need to find a picnic table, whatever, to cook. And we went and sat at this picnic table in Yellowstone. And all of a sudden, okay, let's address this first. I am terrified of bears. It does not matter if bears are like not even in the area. I'm concerned about bears. And so Yellowstone, I'm like, oh my God, there's bears. Like, we need to be careful. We need to carry our bear spray.
This was spring, so they're really active.
Yeah, it was
and all
in
the
May.
sows have their cubs, so.
And anyway, yeah, so we grabbed our camp stove. We set up on a picnic table at this little just corner of the park. And I hear something in the woods, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, if it's a bear, I swear to God. And so I like grab everything. I'm like, we got to get in the car. Like I hear stuff. All of a sudden,
and we're cooking a nice
a burger. Like
and
it
you're ready
smells.
to pack up.
Yes. An elk walks by, like not even 10 feet from the picnic table.
With like a hole in like the trees, like your view. And like you just see this elk just like bobbing its head right through the like little view that we could see, and it was just hilarious.
Awesome.
It was terrifying. Thankfully, I have never gotten close to a bear, but
we're close to those bison.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ethan. Oh my God, let's go fly fish this river. What was that in Yellowstone?
The
Firehole River. And that was before I really loved fly fishing. So I just did it to make him happy. Yeah. And it was raining, super cold. It was raining cold. And, all the signs in the national parks say like stay 30 feet away or 30 yards. It's 30 yards.
Oh,
it's far. Stay 30 yards away from animals, blah, blah, blah. Well, Ethan's fly fishing, and all of a sudden, freaking buffalo a whole like 5 of them, not a whole herd,
and you're still fly fishing,
are within like 20 feet. One's right across the river from him, and
one was like sipping from the river.
Yes, and I'm like, Ethan, we gotta move. We gotta move. And he's like, no, we don't. And I'm like, yes, we have to move. Like, what are you saying?
It was a juicy hole.
And I'm like, we're gonna get like rammed. And so there's me freaking out. We left. All was well, but I am honestly a freak. I'm not gonna lie. I'm terrified of animals and like getting hurt in the outdoors. I really prioritize safety. If any of you are Enneagram followers, probably not. I'm an Enneagram 6, which means I care a ton about safety. So anytime I think that we could get hurt, or like if there's a situation that's potentially dangerous, I say no.
Do you remember the sheep we saw?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Too many stories for one thing, but long story short, there was a mountain goat, or was it a sheep?
It was a bighorn sheep.
Yeah, bighorn sheep on the trail in front of us. And so I'm like, Ethan, we better let it pass. Like, we can't just keep walking towards it. And he's like, no, let's keep going. And I'm like, no.
Like, I've never seen a sheep before.
I'm like, it's literally it's gonna butt you off the mountain. We were in Glacier National Park on this trail that literally on the side of a mountain. And I'm like, he's literally gonna butt you off the mountain. But it all worked out.
Well, do you remember when we were all trout fishing, and Ethan and I crossed the stream to get to these better spots, and Sydney's like, I don't know, guys, there's cows over there, and Ethan and I go, oh, it's gonna be all right. We'll just we'll just tap them with our fly rods if they get a little too close. So Sydney goes 50 yards the opposite way that we're going.
Yeah.
Ethan and I are sitting there fly fishing, and next thing you know, the cows just keep getting closer and closer. And this one was so persistent on getting close to us. I don't know if he just wanted a drink or what.
Yeah, we were in their fishing spot.
We went running across the stream, and it was damn near higher than the waders.
Yeah, I was actually kind of scary.
I was pretty scared.
Sydney hooked one 50 yards away from us too, so we had no reason to be over there.
She wasn't even watching.
No, I don't mess with cows. I don't mess with animals that are bigger than me.
Yeah.
Like there was this little mountain goat in Glacier, and the park ranger was watching it, making sure it wasn't like bothering humans. And I was scared of it. And she's like, oh, there's no reason to be scared. They'll just lick you. And I'm like, okay, from then on out, I'm not scared if it's not bigger than me.
Yeah. We did see a grizzly though. That was pretty sweet.
We saw like 6.
Yeah.
6 in one day in Glacier National Park.
Oh, wow.
that's when my fear for bears was reestablished. I actually woke up that morning and I said, Ethan, I'm scared to go on this hike. I'm so terrified of bears. I don't feel good. Like, I feel ill.
Yeah,
I'm so scared.
They're huge too. You know, being from Iowa, we don't get to experience that all the time. And I remember when I saw my first grizzly in Yellowstone, I couldn't believe how big they actually are.
Yeah, like nothing does it justice until you see it in real life.
And we want to move to Montana.
Yeah. So I guess we'll kind of like we're gonna take this in like a full circle, but traveling for cheap, I'll kind of like sum it up for us. It's a lot of just camping and
road tripping.
I mean, if you and somebody else want to do it, or like a group of 4, like it can be a really cheap trip. Like, what was our glacier trip? Any 300 a person for like staying?
No, well, including food, stays, like gas, everything, it was less than $500 a person for 8 days or 9 days.
Yeah, so like I definitely say like don't overlook these national parks. I mean, there's a lot to do at all these national parks, and there's probably one closer to you than like what you think. I mean, we were just in Colorado 2 months ago now, and that was only 12 hours away from us. So we drove that in a day, and we got to see a lot.
Well, and it's not only national parks; it's anything like
Public land,
and state parks. And I mean, I'm a national park lover, so really I aim for the national parks, but really it's any kind of park or overpass or anything that you want to see. You can probably do it for cheap. There's a way.
Yeah, there's always a way. So let's kind of get into like, what do you think about me fishing hunting? And like, how do you kind of deal with that?
Okay, my only complaint is that everything has to be about hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, I love taking these vacations that we take and fishing for most of it and hiking and being outside because that's what I love to do. But when I want to relax and he's like, oh, maybe we should go fishing this day. And I'm like, no, like we were just fishing this day. I mean, fine. I don't care what you do, but
There's always got to be a fishing.
Yeah, it always has to be about hunting or fishing. Like, literally, we're trying to plan a trip in September when I don't have a wedding. It's literally the 1 week in September I don't have a wedding, and we have plane tickets to use from quarantine. And I said, oh, let's go to Portland. Like, let's go to the coast. I don't know how much fishing we'll do. We want to fish for steelhead in Oregon. And so, but we can't we can bring them, but I don't want to bring fly rods on the plane and stuff. But yeah, so we want to go steelhead fishing, but then also I just want to relax and whatever. And he's like, no, we got to fish or what did he say? Something about, oh, I might want to go like elk hunting then or bear hunting or something. And I'm like, no, we've had this plan forever. So when hunting comes before me, that's when it's an issue. But no, most of the time I support it. I definitely think that I don't want to say struggling, but if you're a couple and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, why does my girlfriend not like fishing, but I do so much? Find something that like you can do together in a sense. Like, okay, I love fly fishing now, and it's not I mean, okay, it might be one of my favorite things to do now, but I mean, like before it was Ethan would say, hey, do you want to tie flies with me? And it would be something we could do together. I was absolutely terrible at it, but we would turn a Harry Potter movie on and then literally just tie flies for 2 hours or whatever. And he would have to retie like half my flies. But I mean, it's something we did together.
Yeah,
so
that sounds amazing.
It's definitely doing something together, especially fly fishing for us. We're both kind of learning. He's way better than me, but we're learning definitely not at the same pace, but we're learning at the same time. And it helps that, oh my gosh, we want to go on this one trip together. We want to learn how to do this. And then Ethan can teach me, but then we also have to learn from other people. So it's turned into a hobby that we both enjoy, something that we're learning together. And it just helps when he supports me in what I do, so then I can support him in what he does.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of, she hit on basically everything that I would hit on. I don't know if there's anything she really missed. Maybe more so just like, I think when I was younger, maybe I was just like so adamant about like, we got to go fishing because like we're right here and we got to do it. And it's more like, and I kind of notice it nowadays where I'm not so like hell bent on like just like having my rod in the water and just like trying to fish and like we want to like slam this monster trout or steelhead or whatever. It's kind of like I'm starting to like kind of actually like look up and kind of see like what's around me and like okay, we actually are in the Grand Tetons fishing. Like, actually just enjoy the scenery. So that's something that's kind of Sydney made me more appreciate more so.
I also think, though, like, with fly fishing, it's, if you're not good, it won't do you any good to just stick your rod in the water.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
fly
I can
fishing
see
for
that.
us has been a lot of research and a lot of learning. And granted, Ethan does most of the research and then reports back to me. But, you know, if you're just throwing your rod, like your fly rod in, you're not going to catch a fish. Like, you have to learn the fundamentals of casting, and you have to learn how to tie a fly if you want a certain one, or go buy them and talk to a fly fishing shop. It's a fly shop.
I guess the thing is, like, it is so overwhelming when you start, and it's so easy to get frustrated. I mean, how many times were you frustrated when we first went? I mean, how many times did it
I got stuck in a tree
Yeah.
so many times until I learned how to cast.
Yeah.
And it took someone showing me how to cast, like actually sitting down. Like, I got lessons.
And I think that's another thing to talk on too. Is like, you can't always expect to teach like your significant other, because like I kind of learned in a different way.
Hold up. He would get so
Yeah.
mad at me because he wanted to fish, but I was still learning.
Yeah.
Granted, he was not that great either, but he thought he was. But it was one of those things where I'm like, can you teach me to do this? And he's like, oh my God, I just want to fish. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know how. So like, you need to teach me if we're going to do this together. I think he got over that quickly, but also he still gets frustrated when like I lose a fly or something and he
Yeah.
just got his rod in the water and I'm like, can you tie a new one on?
I can definitely see that frustration.
Yeah.
Because
So, I mean, definitely don't overlook like looking at a guide or even like someone who's like Orvis has a lot of free casting. This is actually how I kind of learned how to cast. One of our local Orvis fly shops had a little class on, I think it's called Orvis 101, and I went to it. And just having someone like there to teach you is way better than watching a video. And I know it's like not possible for everybody, but
especially for casting a fly rod.
yeah.
I got taught by John Carlson, who we've talked about before, and to me it was really important. Even him teaching me and then me going home trying it out myself, it was really important for him to be right there for the first few times that I was fly fishing, because you learn so much when you're there and right on the spot, learning it directly from somebody.
Well, and I'm kind of the type of person, I'm kind of good at everything I do. Like anything I try to do, I put my all in it. And so it was hard for me when I was learning how to fly fish. Like I wasn't good. And Ethan couldn't just make me good.
No.
So I had to work at it. And he actually bought me my first fly rod for Christmas, I think.
Yeah.
And that's when I really got good because I had my own gear and I could do what I want. And like in Duluth, I'll go out for an afternoon by myself and fish what I can.
I feel like you definitely respect the sport more too once you have your own gear.
Yeah.
Not just using somebody else's.
Yeah. And now I have a heavyweight
Yeah, she got
for
steelhead rod.
steelhead. So I'm building my gearbox and it's
and
all
fly box.
Yeah, it's all going good. Oh yeah, I have a really nice fly box that he got me too. All of the flies in there are tied by him.
I was gonna ask, is he filling it up?
Yeah, absolutely. I am creative and I am super good at art and whatnot, but
And you're really meticulous with a lot of things you do.
yes, but I cannot sit down and tie flies.
Isn't that crazy?
I sit down and I'm literally like, I can't. It's horrible.
But look at me. Like, I'm none of those things you just mentioned.
Oh.
Yeah, and you have huge hands.
Yeah.
And Ethan's the clumsiest
Clumsiest.
guy I know.
Yeah. So I'm impressed with you.
That's one of those things that, like Cindy said about picking up a fly rod. And I'll say the same thing about, shooting rifles, shotguns, picking up a boat. It's not natural to anybody.
No.
And I think that, that's one thing that if you're willing to put the work in, you can have a leg up on somebody. Because, it's not like sports. I mean, like, if you're 5'5", you're probably never going to go be that good at basketball.
No. And it's something you can't just go fly fishing. You have to take it upon yourself to really teach yourself how to cast a fly or
Yeah.
shooting clays, whatever it relates to.
I also, though, I think that when we were first getting started, it was great that we went huge. Like, so our first year fly fishing, we went to Wyoming and we got a guide because we were like, okay, we want to start fly fishing. Let's get a guide. He can teach us. Like, Ethan already knew the fundamentals, but I had no idea what I was doing. But it was like, okay, if we actually want to catch fish and we don't quite know what we're doing, we need this guy there for us. And I think us like going big and wanting to catch those fish really helped because that guide taught me how to cast like full on. And I still reference what he told me.
Yeah, I mean, even from the cast all the way to like getting a fish in the net. I mean, there's a lot to it. And like just, being with a guide, I mean, he gave us way more chances than we ever would have had fishing anywhere else. So Sydney was able to, kind of learn like how to fight the fish, use side pressure.
And I caught a cutthroat.
You caught a cutthroat and a lake trout.
And a lake trout. In that same trip, a huge lake trout.
Yeah.
See, she's always catching the fish.
Yeah, I haven't caught a lake trout yet.
He was so mad when we were with this guide. The guide obviously was like, okay, Ethan, we're going to try to get you on the big fish. Sydney, we're just going to try to get you on some fish.
Yeah.
I caught like 7 in a row and Ethan hadn't caught anything because we were obviously using different flies because he was trying to get Ethan to catch these huge guys.
Yeah.
And then finally we were in like our last hour of the trip and he was like, okay, we'll put something on Ethan. And then Ethan started catching them.
Yeah. So let's start, do you have anything else to say about wild game cooking before we move on? About nothing?
I don't think so.
No.
We can talk about that a different episode because I don't have any specific like recipes to reference. All I know is I'm good. I'm a good cook.
But do you like most wild game, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not something that you would like turn away to.
I literally had deer for dinner the other day. Like
Yeah.
I think it's just how I was raised too.
Right.
I mean, like
Definitely.
we eat everything.
Yeah, but maybe that was more so like I feel like some people just have a bad image in their head, just how they were raised or how people talk about it.
I mean, yeah, we just get creative with it. Like we had, like how people would have a steak salad. We had a venison salad. It's nothing fancy.
So the next thing I'll talk about, this is something Tyler and I don't really know much about, and that's a leave no trace. You want to like talk about that and kind of enlighten our viewers on that?
Yeah. So if you've been to a national park, I'm not sure if state parks have it, but you've probably seen a sign that says leave no trace. Because I am a elopement photographer and I really value the outdoors, I decided to become a leave